Hi, friends. Um, so it's been a while since I've been on YouTube, but this is gonna be okay. Let's just get to it. I felt kind of challenged over the last while, um, by God to speak up, and it's challenging in light of the topic that I felt I needed to speak about, but also challenging because I don't feel like I'm the right person to speak about it, or the right type of Christian. Like, I'm not developed enough in the word, and I feel like I could be attacked for um, how I interpret scripture. I could be attacked for the phrasing that I use if I don't put words in the right order. But I also felt like God kind of led me to this point and the fact that it seemed like such a journey that kind of led to this. I felt like God was like basically pointed me to speak to you guys. So to get to the point, um, a couple weeks ago, like I don't know, it could have been early May or so. I don't recall the situation, but I felt like God was like, "Hey, check your prejudice. You have this distrust for this certain group of people, and I need you to check that. I need you to deal with it. I want us to deal with it." And I was like, God, this is not like, can't I still serve you and love you and serve in the kingdom with this prejudice? And God was like, no, we're not doing that. We have to fix this. We need to sort this out, because you need to love. You need to love all people regardless of anything. And so that really challenged me. I was like, okay, I didn't know that. Like, it was almost like God was like, no, no, I need you to be a lover of all before I set you into a ministry, kind of thing. And that might not be something for everybody, but that was something that I felt like God said to me. And I spoke to my friend, like we do voice notes very often, and I spoke to my friend, and I'd mentioned to her that I have this distrust for people, for this group of people, because of my mom's past experience, lived experience, and living experience with this specific group of people. And so I have built a prejudice and a distrust towards them because of my mom's experience of them. And she was like, bro, like, why don't you, like, you need to inspect that, because that's something that you grew up with. That's something that's kind of ingrained in you. And you need to, like, figure out what your relation is to these people and how, and break that prejudice. And so, throughout the weeks after that, I felt like God was kind of dealing with me, in that area. And I'm not, I can't say I know if I'm fully transformed, but I do think that my heart is a lot softer, or softened. I don't know. Then I recall the day of hearing about um, George Floyd's murder. I went to the shower, and I just wasn't like, my heart was already not okay. This was prior to finding out. And I was just like, okay, God, I have this playlist that I created on Spotify that has a few songs that I worship to, or that will always kind of remind me of God, of my relationship with God. And I added some of the songs I grew up on into it. And I was like, God, listen, I'm gonna shuffle this playlist, and I want you, please, can you speak to me through these songs? Whatever you need me to hear, please, can you speak to me through these songs? And the first song I played was Abide by Kingdom Culture Worship, because that was a song I wanted to listen to, but I put the playlist on shuffle. And the song straight after that is called The Blood Song by Kirk Franklin. And in that song, it basically, the one line that stuck out was, "It doesn't matter what color you are, as long as your blood was red." That's basically referring to Jesus. And I just like that kind of solidified and was like, yes, God, everybody that everybody can come to you, and we are all a united family, and this is what we're united in, sinner and believer. And um I'm called to love, and that's been my conviction for the longest time, that I haven't died on the cross for anybody. So what I can do in my sinful nature, I can love. I can love people to Christ the same way that I came to Christ and found love and found um like love, unconditional love, love without having to work for it, you know. And that's something that resonates with me, that I should give that before judgment, before anything. So then I found out about George Floyd's murder, and it was hard. I'd actually shared that specific line to my Instagram story, and it was like I just found myself like confused and hurt, and like trying to understand what was going on. Uh, and that it kind of, I guess, called me back to check your prejudice, check your isms, your racism, your I doubt it's a word, your genderism, your like your phobias and all that type of stuff. To check your biases. And I was just like, yikes, like we really need to um before I get to that, I also found it kind of, if God was calling me out on that, in addition to George Floyd's murder and the Black Lives Matter protests, Pride Month had started. And I know that the LGBTQIA plus community and the church seem to have many tensions. And I've also kind of argued with family members around it. And I kind of had to sit and realize my privilege in light of that community, because on um, as soon as June started, I'd seen some of my WhatsApp contacts posting statuses to warn the community to protect themselves against certain things. And having seen that for the first time, I was like, I didn't know they had to go through that. And so I am privileged enough to kind of live on social media without having to worry about such attacks. And so I was like, okay, I'm being called out on my privilege. My privilege as a, I don't know all the stuff, but like if I can use like the term that I know, as a straight person, I have the privilege to just exist without having to fight such disgusting attacks. And so what I did was I shared that to my status, because I was like, if I can protect these people, if I can use my privilege in any way, I will share and I will try and protect them against perpetrators like that. And so I found it so, like, I don't want it, funny is the wrong word to use, but that racism and I don't know what to call it, but like phobia, homophobia, transphobia, and everything was being called out. But then on top of that, being in South Africa, um, seeing my foreign friends calling out South African people for who have made xenophobic statements, for standing with Black Lives Matter, but not for standing, but being xenophobic. And I was like, all this stuff is happening at the same time, and it's almost like God is saying, please check your bias, your prejudice, your discrimination, and because these things can lead to loss of life, to disunity, to, and if I have the foot to stand on to say to Christians, check those things. These are not things, I don't think that you can fully operate in love and have these prejudices. And I'm doing that within myself as well. As it's a learning process, that it can be in anything that you class. You could be biased toward people of a certain class, of like so many things were being called out, even in terms of gender-based violence, where people within the sex work industry are more susceptible. And just thinking about I think my own prejudice to say that maybe I subconsciously would judge those people, uh, and just to say no, operate in love, operate in compassion, um, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And just to, yeah, just to say to fellow believers, um, operate out of love. And in that, I felt like God was just like lining up everything. I'd listened to an Abide meditation, like a couple of days after that, and it was pointing to the beatitude in Matthew 5 verse 7. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. And um, I'll also read, sorry, from James 2:13. For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. And just, okay. And then one more scripture after that, sorry. James 1:19. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And just as we're educating each other, as we're learning from each other, to be compassionate, to it was funny that they mentioned in the Abide meditation that it's so like there's this common phrase that is used, or this common statement that is used: it's easier to give than it is to receive. But with mercy, it's the opposite. We are so quick to receive mercy than to give mercy. And in conversations that I've watched on or seen in comments online, people are so quickly to get offended, or people speak out of or speak offensively when asking questions, as opposed to operating in love and in mercy. And the second call is to be slow to speak, be quick to listen, be compassionate, be merciful in your hearing, slow to offense. I think that was something else that God called me out on, that I could potentially get quickly offended. If somebody asks me a question and they're not phrasing it in the right way, instead of, or if somebody makes a statement and I take offense to it, as opposed to trying to hear and see their heart and their perspective in it, you know. So I guess the point of this video is to say, check your prejudice, be curious and listen, but listen with mercy, listen with compassion, and check your offense. Again, I do not feel like the most equipped person to be saying all of this stuff, but I really felt like I had to speak up about, or I felt like God was leading me to say something. So I hope that this encourages all of you guys. And if there's anything that you want to talk about, or teach me about, because I think I kind of want to be more on the receiving end than on the whatever that is. But to learn more and be compassionate and sensitive to what everyone is going through. Love you all, and I hope that you keep drawing close to God in this very difficult, tense season, and find ways to be compassionate towards each other.